O eternal and almighty God, from whom all power and wisdom come, we are assembled here before thee to frame such laws as may tend to the welfare and prosperity of our province. Grant, O merciful God, we pray thee, that we may desire only that which is in accordance with thy will, that we may seek it with wisdom and know it with certainty and accomplish it perfectly. For the glory and honor of thy name and for the welfare of all our people. Amen. We acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory, and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, Dakota Oete, Dene Sulene, and Neothog nations. We acknowledge Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis. We acknowledge northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making, and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Please be seated. Orders of the day. Private members' business. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Hi, Honourable Speaker. Could you please call Bill number 221, the Wildlife Amendment Act, until 10:30. Then at 10:30, please call Bill 222, the Criminal Trespass Act, and amendments to the Occupiers Liability Act.
It's been announced that we will debate Bill 221, the second reading of the Wildlife Amendment Act, until 10:30, at which point we will then debate Bill 222, the second reading of the Criminal Trespassers Act and amendments to the Occupiers Liability Act, until 11. The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, second by the MLA from Ridey Mountain, that Bill number 221, the Wildlife Amendment Act, be now read a second time and be referred to a committee of this House. Thank you.
It has been moved by the Honourable Member for Swan River, seconded by the Honourable Member for Riding Mountain, that Bill number 221, the Wildlife Amendment Act, be now read a second time and be referred to a committee of this House. The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I am pleased to rise today as both a legislator and a conservationist to speak to Bill 221, the Wildlife Amendment Act. This bill is about protecting what matters to our identity as Manitobans, to our ecosystems, and to future generations. It's about making sure people who intentionally harm Manitoba's most vulnerable, protected wildlife face real consequences, not just a slap on the wrist. Honourable Speaker, on December 2023, a bald eagle, a species sacred to many, majestic to all, was intentionally shot near Grunthal. Despite the best efforts of our hard-working conservation officers and staff at the Wildlife Haven Rehabilitation Centre, the eagle died from its wounds, and the fine that was issued, just $1,158. That act and that penalty were demoralizing, not just for the dedicated professionals who tried to save that bird, but for every Manitoban who respects our province's wildlife. That's why I introduced Bill 221. This bill raises the penalties for killing protected species, up to $100,000 and 1 year in jail for a first offense, up to $200,000 and 2 years in jail for repeat offenders. Hunting license suspensions of 2 years for a first offense and indefinitely for repeat offenders. We are proposing changes to bring Manitoba in line with other Western provinces. British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, who are already treating poaching with the seriousness it deserves. I'm a proud outdoorsman, and I've spent my life promoting ethical hunting and conservation education. And I want to be clear, the bill does not target lawful Indigenous harvesters or responsible hunters. What this bill does is sends a clear message. Poaching is not hunting, and poachers are not hunters. Manitoba is blessed with incredible wildlife: bald eagles, cougars, owls, polar bears, bison, songbirds, and many more. Many of these species are rare. When one is killed, we can't just replace it. It is lost forever. These species don't get second chances, and that's why we work hard to protect them. Thanks to good policy, public education, and years of conservation work, our bald eagle population has rebounded in recent years. But we can't take that for granted, and we can't afford to go backward. That's why we need stronger laws that deter poaching and help conservation officers to do their jobs. I want to thank those conservation officers who do incredibly difficult work. They work long hours, cover vast territories, and face real risks to protect our wildlife and our natural resources. They need more tools, more support, and stronger legislation. They deserve our support, and this bill helps give it to them. I also want to thank the team at the Wildlife Haven Rehabilitation Center who tried to save that eagle and who care and compassion inspire so many Manitobans. When one of their staff says, "I can't even think why someone would want to cause harm like that," that should hit home for all of us. Honourable Speaker, the legislation isn't about punishment for punishment's sake. It's about making sure that no one thinks they can shoot a protected animal and walk away with a $1,000 fine. It's about deterrence, it's about respect, and about shared responsibility for the conservation of our protected wildlife. We've heard from the public, we've heard from hunters, we've heard from wildlife groups that they want action. Now it's the time for this legislature to act. Honourable Speaker, I urge the members to support Bill 221 and ensure its quick passage. Let's stand up for Manitoba wildlife. Let's show that we value conservation. Let's make it clear that in this province, if you kill a protected species, you will pay the price. Thank you.
John.
So a question period of up to 10 minutes will be held. Questions may be addressed to the sponsoring member by any member in the following sequence. First question to be asked by a member from another party. This is to be followed by rotation between the parties. Each independent member may ask one question, and no question or answer shall exceed 45 seconds. The floor is now open for questions. The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. Thank you to the member opposite for this opportunity to ask some important questions about this bill. This bill has really important implications for many groups and communities in Manitoba: farmers, First Nations, the Wildlife Federation. They all have important voices when it comes to wildlife protections in Manitoba. So my question for the member is, who did he consult with before writing this bill?
The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Yeah, I thank the member. I know that she has a passion for protecting our wildlife species also, and we consulted with the public. We consulted with wildlife organizations like the Wildlife Federation. We also took the time to consult with hunters and all Manitobans out there, and they all pointed one message toward us, that they very much want to see these species protected for their future grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. First of all, I want to thank my colleague and friend, the member from Swan River. I know he's a true lover of wildlife and a conservationist, and he brings this bill forward with very good intentions. I would like the member for Swan River to tell the House what species will be protected under this law.
The honourable member for Swan River.
Okay, I thank my colleague very much for that really important question, because as we were developing this bill, many people were asking what species that this legislation would protect and what it would entail. Species like bald and golden eagles are probably at the top of the list. Many of our raptors, there's a number of hawks that are also included. And the owls, we quite often now see our great gray owls and snowy owls sitting on those hydro poles along highways and things like that, and they would definitely have the protection. There's blue jays, polar bears, which is an icon of the north, and whenever somebody sees one of those polar bears, they are quite excited.
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure and Transportation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Our government has always been proud to protect wildlife in Manitoba. During our previous time in government, we increased fines and extended protections to more species. So I'm wondering if the member opposite can explain to us why he didn't introduce this bill during his 7.5 years in government.
The honourable member for Swan River.
Okay, I thank the member for that. We made many changes to set the stage for this bill, and one of the big changes was to equipping our conservation officers, who are the boots on the ground every day and who are out there protecting these species. So we kind of had to take the steps in order. We provided additional equipment that the officers would have, and worked very, very hard to bring our officers so that they would be able to protect these species.
The honourable member for Riding Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In the member's speech, he mentioned a $100,000 fine. I'm just wondering if some people might think it's extreme to fine someone $100,000 for shooting a bird.
The honourable member for Swan River.
Okay, I thank the member again, and just kind of a conclusion, I wanted to mention about the cougars and the songbirds too, and when I was talking about the species. Well, we are not in sync with other provinces, and people were looking at this, when you look at it as a slap on the wrist, these kind of things will continue to happen without any type of deterrent. So having these fines increase to come in sync with other provinces like Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC will definitely be a deterrent for anyone who thinks of shooting these species. So not at all. It's just being on sync with other provinces in Western Canada.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Earlier I asked a question about consultations, and I guess what I'd like to hear from the member opposite is a bit more detail on the consultation process. When did these consultations start? I don't know if he was doing consultations while they were still in government, or if this is something he took on after they lost the previous election and were, failed in government. And I'm also wondering very specific details: which First Nations were consulted with, which other groups were consulted with. Are there written records that could be provided to the minister? Were community meetings held? We'd really like to understand what Manitobans think about this issue.
The honourable member for Swan River.
Yeah, I thank the member opposite. These consultations were going on. They were ongoing over our whole time in government, Honourable Speaker. We were listening to people out there on the ground. And I want to be very specific to the member this does not This does not impact any type of hardy with First Nation or any type of harvest with First Nation communities. They have a lot of things where right now if an animal on the highway, for example, an eagle gets accidentally hit by a car that's feeding on a roadkill or something like that, which has been happening, these birds are turned over to First Nation communities to fulfill their need for ceremonial practices. So there was
Time has
no
expired.
impact.
Honourable member for Riding Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I know the member knows that during our time in government, we did an extensive expansion of the CO service and provided them with more gear, more services, so they're better equipped to do the hazardous job they do. I'm just wondering if the member can tell the House if the CO service is supportive of Bill 221, and what role do they play in this in the enforcement of poaching and on animals across the province.
The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Yeah, I thank it, and I can't say enough about our CO service. They're the boots on the ground. They're the ones out there daily protecting our wildlife. You know, it was a little disappointing to see that they were sequestered to the border when we needed them out on the grounds, doing the things that they have been trained to do. And I think that was important. We made a lot of progress. We invested more in conservation officers, expanded resources. The call center was a big thing. COs, families didn't know when they left home at night, were they going to return? Did they have that backup? And that call center, they were very appreciative. And time over time, we heard that while we were in government. And the equipment we got for them, you know, there was some new units, trucks.
First time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. And I too want to commend the work of our conservation officers in this province. It's been, you know, across the public service, it was quite devastating how many positions were cut both within conservation and other departments during the previous 7.5 years in government. We are so proud of the work of COs and appreciate what they do to protect Manitobans and protect wildlife on a daily basis in sometimes dangerous conditions. So I'm just going to ask again about consultations. In order to support the work of government on this issue, I'm wondering if the minister could, or the MLA could provide written records of these consultations to the minister.
Time has expired. The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I thank the Minister for her kind words on the COs, because I keep looking back and the COs were overwhelmed at the progress that we made in equipping them with the tools that they needed every day to be on the ground, and the vehicles and the appreciation that we showed and the recognition that we gave time and time again. And they were one of the main voices in saying that we have got some outdated legislation in place that we need to bring up and in sync with other provinces across Western Manitoba, and that's what we work toward. We work very hard to trying to fulfill.
First time has expired. The Honourable Member for Riding Mountain.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. By the line of questioning from members opposite, it seems to me they're more concerned with consultation than the focus of this bill, which is going to reduce illegal poaching of protected species, or if that happens, the fines are going to increase. Can the member address the concerns that maybe be flowing through the heads from the people on the members on the other side of the House? Why is this such an important issue that's facing Manitoba, even though they may think it's not?
The Honourable Member for Swan River.
I thank the Honourable Member from Riding Mountain and my colleague for that great question. This is about the future. This is about what our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren will be able to share and say that I saw a cougar. I mean, when somebody sees a cougar now, it's all over Facebook in Manitoba, or I saw a bald eagle, or I saw a bald eagle's nest and saw that bald eagle catch a fish and take the fish to its nest. Really important. I mean, it's about heritage. It's about maintaining biodiversity within our ecosystems. It's about It's about respect for wildlife.
First
And
time has expired. Before we move on to debate the bill, there are some guests that are only here for a short time. We have seated in the public gallery from Ecole Lansdowne 35 grade 4 students under the direction of Marcus Bellick, and they are guests of the Honourable Member for McPhillips. We welcome you here today. In case I didn't say it before, the time for questions has expired. The floor is now open for debate. The Honourable Member for Waverley.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm very pleased to be able to stand and put a few words on the record today on this bill that's been brought forward. You know, and every time that I get to stand up here in this space, I often reflect on my roots here in the province and how deeply they're tied to the land. You know, my family came over from Ukraine, Molotchna colony, so they came over looking for a better life, right? And when they arrived in Manitoba, they brought with them what they had, what they could carry, and you know, this deep belief that ultimately if you care for the land, it would care for you in return, right? So I'm really happy to be able to speak about this bill and conservation efforts specifically today. You know, and I got to be honest with you, Honourable Speaker, I'm struggling a little bit this morning because, you know, the member opposite is talking about polar bears, and meanwhile, they're a party whose potential leader is posting pictures of himself riding them out in the wild, right? And so, and I you know, we can joke and take shots at each other back and forth, but seriously, if that is actually the sort of stuff that they're putting forward, can we trust them to take conservation efforts seriously as well, right? And more importantly, looking at actual facts, the opposition, while they were in government, cut the Department of Environment and Climate Change by 70%. It was absolutely absurd. And if we're talking about making changes that will benefit the lands here in Manitoba, how can you justify those decision-making processes when it comes to our animals and our land and our water here in the province? So, you know, I don't want to take up too much time because I know there are a couple of people that are wanting to speak on this, but we're also, as a province right now and as a government, we're cracking down on illegal hunting and fishing. We're increasing fines. We've got a great minister working on this, and you know, we're also, conservation ultimately, it's not really necessarily just about punishing people, right? It's about protecting the future. And so I guess while I'm on the topic of future thinking, Honourable Speaker, I do have to mention something I also find very curious, that the members opposite seem far more interested, particularly recently, in our government's social media accounts than in their government's own environmental record. And don't get me wrong, you know, I know Instagram and TikTok isn't everyone's thing, but I'll say this, like if the members opposites had maybe spent a little bit less time cutting conservation budgets, a little bit more time communicating with Manitobans and looking at our Instagram accounts, then maybe we wouldn't be in this mess to begin with. So ultimately, we're putting in the work as a government. We're doing it with respect for multiple communities across this province, including families like mine, who came here over from Ukraine and farmed the land, Indigenous communities, rural, northern communities, and those people will continue to protect this land for generations that will come after us, because you know, we on this side believe that we should have a Manitoba where kids can still paddle down clean rivers, right, and where deers are still grazing at the edge of a forest, and where the pickerel are still biting on a calm summer morning, right? So that's the kind of province that my family came here hoping to find, and that's the kind of province that I want to leave behind. And I know that our government is doing the important work to make sure that that's exactly how our province will be left when we leave here.
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources and Indigenous Futures.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for the chance to put a few words on the record. And I'd like to thank my colleague from Waverley for putting those personal stories on the record as well as it relates to this. And it's unfortunate that the member opposite brings forth the Bill 221, but has no speakers to actually back that up as well too. So we'll take this opportunity to put a few words on the record to actually talk and ask the questions that they're refusing to ask themselves. Again, the member from Riding Mountain is chirping, former minister that didn't do any of this, by the way, who had that opportunity. In the question and answer, the thing that was asked for the member from Swan River was about why didn't you do anything when you were in government? Why didn't you do this? Why did you do? And he talked about 7.5 years, and he talked about hearing many, many times about outdated legislation, but yet did nothing about it. 7.5 years, and it's still chirping from the member from Riding Mountain, who seconded this as well too, who was a minister, who had the opportunity to deal with this, who had the chance to do with this, who had the chance to bring forth legislation to deal with issues such as this, but refused to do so. Yet he stands there and also diminishes the consultation piece. He says, we seem to be, as a government, more worried about consultation. Absolutely, we are worried about consultation. We will consult with Manitobans from every background, from every sector of the province, because that is what good government does. Good government will come and consultate, have the conversations, have the difficult conversations as well too. While we may not agree on everything all the time, we are for sure going to have the conversation as to how can we be better, how can we do better, how can we do things in a better way. Not close the door. Again, the members are chirping because we're talking about consultation, because we know they don't do that whatsoever. They never have, they never will. And that is why they are in the opposition benches, because they would not talk to Manitoba. They would not talk about those issues. Instead, there they are promoting their leader wannabe for posting pictures with polar bears in a very detrimental way. So where are we on this regard?
Order.
So when we come in this collaboration and consultation that we want to do in a very comprehensive way, we do that. Instead, what the members opposite do, they bring forth legislation, even narrow it down to let's have this conversation within 30 minutes. You know, let's have this bigger conversation. Why are they so afraid to have a bigger conversation across all of Manitoba, across both sides of the aisle? Again, the member is chirping away. The former Natural Resources Minister, he's chirping away because he knows he failed to do any of this. He failed to address these concerns. He failed to be able to come to the table and say, let's have a conversation across all parties, across aisles, and across all of Manitoba, because he absolutely is refusing to do that. So for us, the consultation piece is important, the engagement is important, and that's a priority for us as government. To be able to sit there and say, we're having the conversation across all, and we really want to do that. But again, 7.5 years, failed to do this. Instead, trying to bring this forth in 30 minutes. 7.5 years instead of 30 minutes. Again, nothing got done. And again, still chirping for the member from Riding Mountain. Again, because he knows he's been called out by members opposite to say, why didn't you do this? When you were the minister, why did you not do any of this? Because he doesn't have an answer for them. He simply doesn't have an answer as to why didn't you bring this forth? Why didn't you bring forth Bill 221? And the means is what it's trying to do. We are for sure going to have the conversation about protection of species. We're going to have those conversations across all members of the aisle, across all of Manitoba, because that is what good government does. We are going to get out there and not try to create wedge issues like the members opposite try to do, because they try to do that every single day. But yet, when we talk about the consultation, they diminish that. They say, members, the government is so worried about consultation.
Order,
Absolutely.
please. The hour being 10:30. The hour being 10:30, as previously announced, we will now move on to debate. Oh, yes. When this matter is again before the House, the Honourable Minister will have 6 minutes remaining, and as previously announced, we will now move on to debate Bill 222, the Criminal Trespassers Act, and amendments to the Occupiers Liability Act. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
I move, seconded by the MLA for Brandon West, that Bill number 222, the Criminal Trespassers Act, and amendments to the Occupiers Liability Act be now read a second time and be referred to a committee of this House.
It's been moved by the Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli, seconded by the MLA for the Honourable Member for Brandon West, that Bill number 222, the Criminal Trespassers Act, and amendments to the Occupiers Liability Act be now read a second time and be referred to a committee of this House. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today to present the Criminal Trespassers Act and the amendments to the Occupiers Liability Act, or Bill 222. These legislative changes are not only reasonable, they are necessary. They represent a long overdue correction to an imbalance in our justice system, an imbalance that until now allowed criminals to exploit the very people they were harming. At the heart of this legislation is a simple idea. If you break into somebody's home or business with the intent of committing a crime and you get injured in the process, you shouldn't be able to turn around and sue the person whose rights you were violating. That's not justice, that's absurd, and it's time that we said so loud and clear. Let's be honest, Manitoba is facing a serious challenge when it comes to crime, especially property crime. Break-ins, theft, vandalism, and violent incidences are rising. Families, farmers, business owners, and seniors are telling us they don't feel safe. And while this government continues to struggle with meaningful solutions to reduce crime in our communities, at the very least we could do is make sure the victims of these crimes aren't being re-victimized by a legal system that is supposed to protect them. This bill is a small but powerful step in the right direction. Let me walk you through the legislation and what it actually does. So first, under the Criminal Trespassers Act, if someone aged 12 or older trespasses on private property with the intent to commit a crime and gets injured in the process, they cannot sue the property owner unless the owner has acted in a way that is willful or grossly disproportionate and extreme enough that results in a criminal conviction under the Criminal Code of Canada. In other words, this bill does not give property owners a free pass to use dangerous force. This does not allow anyone to set traps or act recklessly. It does not encourage violence or to someone to become a vigilante. In fact, it very clearly upholds the existing rules under the Criminal Code and common law regarding the use of force, self-defense, and the protection of property. But what it does do is restore a little common sense. The goal is to no longer see stories where a homeowner gets broken into and then ends up facing a lawsuit because the criminal hurts themselves while committing a crime, or in most cases, multiple crimes. That is not justice. That is exploitation, and Manitobans know this. This law ensures that the burden doesn't fall unfairly on the backs of victims. It protects good, law-abiding citizens from civil lawsuits filed by people who were actively in the process of committing crimes. That shouldn't be controversial. That should be common sense. Now, let me address a few concerns that I've heard during my consultations. Some would say this bill might encourage homeowners to take the law into their own hands, but that's not what this legislation is about. If a property owner behaves recklessly or violently and crosses the line, they can still be held criminally responsible and criminally liable. Nothing in this legislation prevents that. In fact, the bar for liability is very clear and very high. The property owner must have acted willfully, grossly, disproportionately, and must actually be convicted by a court of law. So let's also be clear. This is not a stand your ground bill. It does not excuse violence. It simply ensures that someone who breaks the law doesn't get to use the civil courts to punish their victims. Some will say, but what about the children? Well, the law applies to those who are 12 years of age or older. Why? Because at that age, individuals are considered by law to have enough understanding to know right from wrong and know that breaking into someone's property is not just illegal, but also dangerous. So, this age limit is consistent with how other laws treat criminal responsibility. Others had questions about the delay in litigation periods, but again, this is about fairness. If a property owner is charged with a criminal offense, the civil case must wait until the criminal matter is fully resolved. That ensures due process for everyone involved. It's a logical step that avoids conflicting rulings and protects the integrity of our justice system. Now let's talk about the Occupiers Liability Act amendment. The change reinforces the principle that if you're on someone else's property without permission, the owner does not owe you the same duty of care as they would to an invited guest. Again, this is common sense. When you break into a business, a home, a farm, or a shop, you assume the risk of being in a place you have no right to be. This doesn't mean occupiers can act dangerously or create unsafe conditions deliberately. No booby traps. This isn't about that. But it does mean that they shouldn't be held to the same standard of care as if someone has been invited into your home or onto your property. This is not a radical idea. It's something courts and judges and occupiers have been calling for across Canada for years. Judges themselves have said that laws need clarity, and with this legislation, we are delivering that clarity. Let me be absolutely clear, this bill is not about promoting violence, it's about protecting victims. It's about ensuring that when criminals are injured while committing crimes, they don't get to twist the law to use the law as a weapon against the people that they victimize. This is about restoring balance. This is about saying to homeowners, farmers, small business owners, hardworking Manitobans, we've got your back. If you're following the law, if you're not acting recklessly or violently, and someone trespasses in your property to commit a crime, you shouldn't have to worry about being sued by this person who violated your space. This is what this bill accomplishes. Now, will this bill stop crime overnight? Of course not. But it sends an important signal that our laws should protect the victims, not punish them. It restores faith in a justice system that too often seems tilted in favor of the offenders. And it gives law-abiding citizens the assurance that their rights, their property, and their safety are being taken seriously. We've heard from communities and community leaders. We've heard from judges. We've seen real-life cases across this country that show an urgent need for a bill like this. Now is the time to act. So I ask this House to support this legislation, not just because it's smart policy, because it's the right thing to do. Let's stand up for fairness. Let's stand up for common sense. And most importantly, let's stand up for the rights of victims across Manitoba. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
A question period of up to 10 minutes will be held. Questions may be addressed to the sponsoring member by any member in the following sequence. First question to be asked by a member from another party. This is to be followed by rotation between the parties. Each independent member may ask one question and no question or answer shall exceed 45 seconds. The floor is now open for questions. The honourable member for Kildonan River East.
Honourable Speaker, Manitobans are protected when police forces have the resources to do their job. That's why our NDP government brought in a 28% increase in their first budget for all municipal law enforcement organizations. With regular increases going forward, it's needed relief after the former failed PC government froze funding for their entire time in government. My question for the member opposite is why he refused to protect Manitobans and their property and instead decided to freeze funding for all law enforcement in Manitoba during his time in government.
The honourable member for Interlake Gimli.
Well, obviously, we've seen a recent rise in crime lately, and I do agree that this bill will not stop crime overnight. But what it will do is it will empower property owners to not have to go through legal action of being sued when somebody violates them. This is about protecting homeowners, property owners, farmers, ranchers, and I think if the member would take some time to go knock on some of their doors, they would see that this is very important and wanted by Manitobans.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I would really like to thank the member from Interlake Gimli for bringing this important legislation forward. You know, it's timely when we see what's happening in rural Manitoba and the knee-jerk reactions that are happening from this NDP government as a result of that. This is proactive legislation, Honourable Speaker. So I'm wondering, how does this legislation ensure that property owners, particularly in rural and agricultural areas, are not held responsible for injuries sustained by those unlawfully entering their land?
The honourable member for Interlake Gimli.
Yeah, of course that we know rural and agriculture property owners often deal with trespassing incidents that put their land, their livestock, and even their livelihoods at risk. This legislation limits their liability, ensuring that they are not responsible for injuries sustained to those who knowingly and unlawfully enter their property to commit a crime. It recognizes the unique challenges faced by farmers in rural communities that provide them with a greater legal certainty. A farm can be an inherently dangerous place and can be difficult, if not impossible, to manage all those risks. I think as we drive by many farmyards in the rural areas, we see lots of...
His time has expired. The honourable member for Kildonan River East.
Honourable Speaker, under our NDP government, there are more police officers on the streets. We're recruiting new officers after the former failed PC government let 55 police officers go through their cuts and inaction. My question for the member opposite is why he refused to protect Manitobans and their property and instead decided to get rid of 55 police officers.
The honourable member for Interlake Gimli.
Well, obviously the member hasn't read the bill because this is about protecting property owners and their rights when somebody intentionally enters their property to commit a crime. This prevents that criminal from being able to sue that property owner if they step on a nail, if they slip on some ice. If somebody's invited on your property, you know they're coming, you can salt your sidewalks. It rains at 2 in the morning, sidewalks are icy at 3 in the morning. When somebody is illegally entering your property, they slip and break their leg on that same ice. You don't know they're coming. It is not fair to the property owner for that person, that criminal, to sue the property owner.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I really want to compliment the member from Interlake Gimli on bringing forward this very proactive legislation. He mentioned something in his opening remarks about common sense legislation, and this really is common sense as we look at protecting individual rights, but also those that are involved in this as property owners. So what measures are in place to ensure that property owners are only held liable in extreme cases where their actions are willful, grossly disproportionate, and lead to a criminal conviction?
The honourable member for Interlake Gimli.
Yeah, this legislation isn't about make my day law or stand your ground or whatever some of those terms are to our neighbors to the south of us. This legislation sets a high threshold for liability, requiring that a property owner must have acted with intent in a matter that is grossly disproportionate to the situation and must also have been criminally convicted for their actions. This ensures that only truly defiant cases can result in liability, preventing frivolous claims from coming against property owners, farmers, ranchers, and those that are acting in good faith to protect their homes and businesses. Again, this does not allow somebody to set up
First
booby
time has
traps.
expired. The honourable member for Kildonan River East.
Honourable Speaker, our NDP government brought back and expanded a critical ankle monitoring program that is keeping Manitobans safe. My question for the members opposite is why he cancelled the ankle monitoring program and why he thought his cuts would protect Manitobans and their property.
The honourable member for Interlake Gimli.
Yeah, that's a similar question to asking somebody why they got rid of their horse and buggy and bought a car. Technology always increases and gets better, and the new ankle monitoring that technology that's there with GPS and location is absolutely something that I wish we had decades ago, never mind just years ago.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and again, common sense legislation that is being brought forward by the member for Interlake Gimli, and I'm looking forward to full party support on this bill. As was previously mentioned, if the members opposite were out door knocking, they would learn that the constituents really want to see this passed. How does the amendment to the Limitations Act protect the legal rights of the injured party?
Honourable member for Interlake Gimli.
Yeah, this amendment extends the time frame for filing a lawsuit against a property owner until after criminal charges against them have been resolved. So if the homeowner is charged and convicted, then that does allow the trespasser, or the criminal, the violator, to press charges. This ensures that if the property owner's actions have only been deemed to be criminal in nature, the injured party will still have the full suite of legal remedies available to them. So if a trespasser goes into a booby trap that a property owner set up, they will have rights for a civil suit.
The honourable member for Kildonan River East.
Honourable Speaker, under the former failed PC government, the court system didn't have the resources they needed to ensure Manitobans get justice. Positions were left unfilled, and there weren't enough Crown attorneys to support true public safety. Now, under our NDP government, we've hired 35 new Crown attorneys to ensure our justice system can protect Manitobans. My question for the members opposite is why he underfunded our justice system and why he thought his cuts would protect Manitobans and their property.
The honourable member for Interlake Gimli.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I would like to make note to the member opposite that they are ignoring judges, lawyers, and courts that are asking for this legislation. Why are they going unheard, being ignored by this NDP government for their whole entire term that they've been in here? Ignored. The Justice Minister is laughing at the moment, and he doesn't care what judges are saying. This is important legislation being asked for by judges and courts across the country.
The honourable member for Brandon West.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and my question for my colleague is simple. What feedback have you received from property owners, farmers, and rural communities in support of this legislation? And I ask this in the wake of extensive rural crime that is happening under this NDP's watch and this Minister of Justice's lack of foresight on rural crime and the safety of Manitobans. It's disappointing that the member for Kildonan River East toes the party line and asks questions that have nothing to do with this legislation. I would like to hear more about this legislation.
Here.
Honourable member for Interlake Gimli.
Well, I've obviously, besides the judges and courts that are asking for this, I've heard strong support from farmers, ranchers, business owners, homeowners right here in the city of Winnipeg who've been concerned about the rising number of trespassing incidents and crimes against them. Many have expressed that they feel vulnerable to both crime and potential legal repercussions through no fault of their own. This legislation responds directly to the concerns and provides them with greater certainty. Some members that I've contacted were actually astounded that a criminal could sue them if they got hurt on their property while they were perpetrating a crime.
First time has expired. The time for questions has expired, and before we move on to debate, I just want to take a moment to remind all members that I would ask all members to please quit speaking while the speaker is speaking. Thank you. I'd remind all members to make sure they're directing their comments through the chair, not to a specific member across the way. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
On House business, please, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader on House business.
Honourable Speaker, pursuant to Rule 34, Bracket 8, I am announcing that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Thursday of private member's business will be the one put forward by the Honourable Member for La Vérendrye. The title of this resolution is Recognizing Providence University College and Theological Seminary 100th or Centennial Anniversary. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
It has been announced that pursuant to Rule 34, Bracket 8, that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Thursday of private member's business will be the one put forward by the Honourable Member for La Vérendrye. The title of the resolution is Recognizing Providence University College and Theological Seminary's 100th Centennial Anniversary. So now we will move on to debate on Bill number 222. The Honourable Member for, having a bad day, can't remember, Kirkfield Park.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. It's always an honor to get up and speak in this chamber. And you know, there's a lot of folks that I talk to that live in Kirkfield Park who are law enforcement officers. They either are police officers, they're corrections, they're sheriffs. They're really proud of the work they do. I'm very proud of the work they do. Honourable Speaker, the PCs had 7.5 years to address crime. And when crime exploded under the former PC government, they decided to do nothing. In 2018, they froze. In 2019, they looked around and decided that municipal forces didn't need their help. In 2020, no increase to funding for municipal law enforcement whatsoever. In 2021, still nothing. 2022, when police forces were asked for the resources they needed after years of frozen funding, still nothing from the members opposite, Honourable Speaker. And in 2023, they approached the election. They still decided police officers weren't worth their time. So what did we do in 2023? Manitoba voters decided the PCs and their soft on crime approach wasn't worth their time. Honourable Speaker, I worked in the Department of Justice and I saw the austerity and the cuts to justice, the frozen funding, the drop in morale. But what a refreshing change, Honourable Speaker, to have an NDP government that is taking crime seriously, not like some washed up failed PC caucus playing woulda, coulda, shoulda, now while in opposition. So speaking of liability, Honourable Speaker, our government introduced the ankle monitoring system and it was endorsed by the National Police Federation. This program tracked chronic offenders, auto theft, those who were stealing vehicles. I remember Winnipeg Police placing these ankle monitoring bracelets onto offenders, and it was a very successful program, Honourable Speaker. But you know what? The PCs cut that program. Why? Why would you cut a program that was working? Why would you cut something that was successful? It's beyond me. We invested $2.9 million in the electronic ankle monitoring system, and we expanded the program access across Manitoba. So this is, actual work that we're doing for our province to ensure that there's safety and checks and balances. We're investing $2 million to expand Manitoba's operational communications to strengthen law enforcement's ability to respond to violent crime. I know few folks who work at the command center there who are dispatchers, and they do an incredible job for the province. They're under a tremendous amount of stress. And I'm so pleased to see our government adding and investing in the workers at the Operational Communications Center in Manitoba. Honourable Speaker, we're also investing in 24 new Winnipeg police officers for community policing. 12 hit the streets in November, 12 more are coming in the spring. That's really exciting, Honourable Speaker. Again, I recall working at the Winnipeg Remand Centre and seeing the change in government and seeing police resources being stretched far beyond the point that was manageable. And really, really pleased that our government is actually investing in law enforcement and investing in our communities, making them safer for folks. And you know what, Honourable Speaker, municipalities are really happy with how we're tackling crime. In fact, the president of AMM, Kathy Valentino, said, "The Association of Manitoba Municipalities, AMM, welcomes the provincial government's investment to strengthen the RCMP's capacity and help ensure a more effective response to crime across Manitoba, with frontline officers dealing with repeat prolific offenders and expanded responsibilities that extend beyond traditional law enforcement. These additional resources are both timely and essential." So, Honourable Speaker, we're getting the work done to protect Manitobans and their property. Honourable Speaker, I'd like to take this opportunity to just give a few shout-outs to our police here in Winnipeg and around the province who are doing work in their collaboration with our incredible Justice Minister. Thank you to them for their openness and willingness to work with our government. I also want to have to shout out the correctional officers who are always working hard, who are working overtime, who are tackling the root causes of crime, and who are using all of the tools on their duty belts to keep Manitobans safe. So, Honourable Speaker, I'd like to thank you for your time. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Good job. The Honourable Member for McPhillips.
Honourable Speaker, it's so ironic that the defund the police radicals on the other side have come forward with this bill. What do they do in their time in government? They cut police officers in Winnipeg.
Order.
They underinvested in police, and today they have the gall to tell us to invest into police and law enforcement. This government, this Minister of Justice is doing that hard work. We're going to keep Manitobans safe.
The hour being, order please. The hour being 11 o'clock, the time for private members' resolutions is finished. We now move on, private members' bills. When this matters again before the House, the honourable member will have 9 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes remaining, the hour being 11 o'clock. Order, please. Order, please. I just admonished people about when the speaker is standing and speaking, they should sit down and be quiet. So I'd appreciate if that took place now. The hour being 11 o'clock, we now move on to private members' resolutions. The resolution before us this morning is resolution number 7, O Canada. The honourable member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I move, second by the MLA from Riding Mountain, Therefore, be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba be urged as a permanent symbol of collective Canadian pride to refer to the Rules Committee for the proposal to sing O Canada each sitting day after the daily prayer and land acknowledgement.
Hear, hear.
Order, please. It has been moved by the Honourable Member for Swan River, seconded by the Honourable Member for Riding Mountain, that therefore be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba be urged as a permanent symbol of collective Canadian pride to refer to the Rules Committee the proposal to sing O Canada each sitting day after the daily prayer and land acknowledgement. The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Thank you.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Bar none, Canada is the most beautiful country on earth.
Hear, hear.
Though not perfect, there is no place that comes close to Canada. I truly believe that, and I know most Manitobans feel that way too. Since President Donald Trump announced his unjustified tariffs and began suggesting he'd annex Canada, we've seen an influx of similar sentiments in our province and across the country. People are coming together, and as Manitobans increasingly seek opportunities to unify, it's on us as legislators to set an example of what that can look like. Manitobans want to see more unity among their elected officials. That is why today our Progressive Conservative team is introducing this resolution to sing our national anthem in these chambers every sitting day as a daily unified demonstration of our love for Canada. O Canada reminds us of a common higher purpose that we share as Canadians to our country. Beyond political divisions and partisan lines, it celebrates the mutual history and identity held by Canadians that differentiates us from anywhere else. The resolution responds to a growing demand for strong expressions of Canadian patriotism. Following recent years of national pride being actively frowned upon across Canada, including by this very NDP who tore down Canadian flags and led rallies to cancel Canada Day. Progressive Conservatives will always put Manitoba and Canada first. But for the past 2 months, the NDP have shamelessly questioned this side of the House on our loyalty to Canada. Yet the NDP can't even take what they dish out. Yesterday, the Premier was asked to show his love for Canada by supporting this resolution and immediately reacted with anger and at the idea of his partisan being put into question. Let me be clear, Progressive Conservatives have been encouraging and advancing a pro-Canadian environment in Manitoba from the very beginning. Unlike the NDP, our patriotism does not hinge upon Donald Trump. It was PCs who invested tens of millions into our tourism sector to encourage the world to experience Manitoba and Canada. That began in 2016 with the first boost to Travel Manitoba in a decade. It was PCs who helped fund hundreds of local Canada Day celebrations, reconciliation projects, community heritage museums, monuments, and other pro-Canada initiatives across Manitoba. Through programs like the ASCS Fund, which was scrapped by the NDP. It was PCs who invested millions into boosting our national sports team like the Blue Bombers and the Sea Bears. That's why Winnipeg is hosting both the Grey Cup and CBL championships this year. It's the PCs who supported numerous initiatives to honor Canadian history, like installing the statues of Louis Riel and Chief Peguis on our legislative grounds, the latter of which has since been delayed by the NDP. In fact, PCs are so proud to be Canadian that we pioneered this country's provincial nominee program to increase opportunities for people across the world to make Canada their home and become fellow patriots. Every year, thousands of immigrants in Manitoba realize their dream of becoming Canadian citizens. Myself and my colleagues have had the honor of witnessing many citizenship ceremonies over the years, where new and longtime Canadians alike proudly sing, "O Canada." This country is made of nearly 5,000 ethno-cultural groups and over 600 First Nation communities who speak over 200 languages. The unifying thread is Canada. Commemorating Canada is not a matter of simply holding on to the past. It's an affirmation of our responsibility to make this country the best it can be. It is a commitment to reconciliation, a recognition of our treaties, and an acknowledgement of those who came before. We need to ensure Manitobans feel hopeful in Canada. Canada represents hope to people around the world who come from ways away to pursue a better life for themselves and their families. In conclusion, to sing "O Canada" is to honor all those who've embraced Canada as their home. To sing "O Canada" is to celebrate that which brings together the diversity of people we represent every day in this legislature. To sing "O Canada" paired with the land acknowledgement is to celebrate the full inclusion of Indigenous peoples in the prosperity of Canada. To sing "O Canada" is to offer hope. We expect our children to sing "O Canada" at schools. We expect Jets fans to sing it at every game. If we expect "O Canada" from Manitobans, Manitobans have a right to expect it from us. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Hear, hear.
Order, please. Prior to moving on, I want to introduce former member Shannon Martin, who was the member for McPhillips. He's seated in the loge to my left. And now a question period of up to 10 minutes will be held, and questions may be addressed in the following sequence. The first question to be asked by a member from another party. Any subsequent questions must follow a rotation between the parties. Each independent member may ask one question, and no question or answer shall exceed 45 seconds. The floor is now open for questions. The Honourable Member for Radisson.
Honourable Speaker, on this side of the House, we understand patriotic responsibility. We love Canada, Honourable Speaker. That member opposite in their failed government had 7.5 years to get this done. He had 7.5 years to open up his government phone and use it for something productive, like sending one email requesting this to the Rules Committee. So, Honourable Speaker, my question to the member is, if he, quote-unquote, doesn't, his patriotism doesn't hinge on Donald Trump, why didn't he do something as patriotic as this in his 7.5 years, and what was he using his phone for instead?
The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Oh man, that's some pretty high words there. We're talking about a minute and 14 seconds. I would have thought this member and the NDP would be overwhelmingly to support it. I'm shocked that the idea of singing "O Canada" is even an issue.
The Honourable Member for Portage-La Prairie.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And I'd like to thank the member of Swan River, my colleague, for bringing this forward that I think is very important for us to talk about here today. Can you please tell us about a time that impacted you while you were singing "O Canada"?
The Honourable Member for Swan River.
Sorry, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I thank the member from Portage, my colleague. for this very important question. I look back and I remember back in the 1960s, which was a very long time ago, in a small little one-room schoolhouse in Cowan, Manitoba, where the first day of school we walked in there, and it was pretty frightening as a toddler, I guess you could call it. And we sang "O Canada," and I kind of looked in the grade 7 and 8, so we just followed suit, and I just kind of moved my lips. But that immediately said, this is the right thing to do. This is what living in Canada, living in Manitoba is all about. And from then on, it's just been such an important thing. Thank you.
The honourable member for Radisson.
Honourable Speaker, members opposite need to take a long, hard look in the mirror and have some hard conversations around the caucus table. While their leadership race's establishment candidate was saying thank you to Donald Trump for his attack against our country, we were rallying and reclaiming our flag on April 6th with thousands of Manitobans and even saying "O Canada" together, Honourable Speaker. Because their potential leader is so out of touch, I think we all deserve to know, do the other members opposite side with the member for Fort White thanking U.S. President Donald Trump for his tariffs, or do they stand with the rest of Canada and Manitoba?
The honourable member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I thank the member again for a question. Honourable Speaker, this is an opportunity to unite Manitoba and all Canadians against Canada to become a 51st state. I'm shocked. It's even a debate. And this member is questioning our patriotism during these times where Donald Trump is trying to impose tariffs and trying to divide the country. This is where we have to come together and become one. Thank you.
The honourable member for Agassiz.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I want to also thank my colleague, the member from Swan River, for introducing this resolution here this morning. And it is a great resolution. And I just want to ask the member, can he tell us how this will encourage patriotism here in our province of Manitoba?
The honourable member for Swan River.
I thank my colleague from Agassiz for a very important question. And we, every day, we see singing in schools, "O Canada," arenas. We go to a Jets game now, and that true north, strong and free, and everybody in unison stands and is very unified, and that's what we want to become. It's quite important for us. It's become an icon of Canada to be able to sing, to unify the country, bring us together. So, and especially now, this is probably the most important time for us to show that unification, both across the House with the members and on this side of the House. And I hope that they will pass this today and truly show.
His time has expired. The honourable member for Radisson.
Honourable Speaker, thank you for that recognition. I am really glad that members opposite are finally getting on board with patriotism. That member opposite and his failed government team have a track record of sending our precious Canadian dollars out of province. Now, in opposition, they're saying that we should keep lining the pockets of people like Elon Musk. But Manitobans are clear, they don't want their government dollars going to Elon, Honourable Speaker. They want us to buy Canadian. So I have a simple question for the members heckling me across the way. Does the member opposite agree with the member for Midland when she says our government should keep sending money to Mr. Musk, our hard-earned dollars, Honourable Speaker, or do they stand with the rest of Canada and Manitoba?
The honourable member for Swan River.
I thank the member opposite, and I very hope the member opposite is able to convince the fakes on the other side of the House to come on board with us and to be able to show or truly show their patriotism toward Canada. Because we know many of them, they kind of show something that's not really there. We want them to show it every morning, and then we will believe that they are truly patriotic to this country.
The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Again, when it comes to patriotism, I have to thank the member from Swan River, my colleague, for bringing this forward, because it is so important here. Rick, you being an
Order, please. Two things of note is, first, we don't call members by their names. We use their constituency or their ministerial title. And secondly, you address questions through the chair, not directly to members. The honourable member for Portage La Prairie.
Honourable Speaker, thank you for the reminder. Honourable Speaker, can you tell us about a time that impacted you during...
Order, please. Just reminded the member to direct his questions through the chair, so he should do that. The honourable member for Portage La Prairie.
Honourable Speaker, can the member from Swan River tell the House about a time during the teaching career that he was embarrassed?
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Swan River.
Yeah. Thank you to my member, and I think the embarrassing part now is listening to the opposition coming from across the floor right now. I mean, there is resistance, there is heckling, there is holes. We're just asking them for something very simple today, Honourable Speaker. We're asking them to come on board, to share the glory, the great things that this country, this province has to offer. And let's stand united against a person like Donald Trump. We say that every day. They question that, and they're just trying to find ways to try to divide and cover their fake
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Radisson.
Honourable Speaker, I am glad that members opposite are here finally wearing their red after they were wearing blue on April 6th, and there were only a few of them. We didn't get to sing O Canada with many of the people across the way that day, but public health care is a core value of ours as Canadians. Honourable Speaker, public health care is the reason my family came from the fragmented state of the Philippines to contribute to this workforce instead. Meanwhile, the PCs betrayed this idea at every turn possible by cutting capacity and selling off every piece that they could. So, Honourable Speaker, it is concerning to me that the member for Borderland has said in this chamber that becoming the 51st state and taking on the U.S.-style healthcare was no problem. Therefore, simple question again, Honourable Speaker, does that team agree with their member for Borderland's wish to become the 51st state, or do they stand with the rest of Canada and Manitoba?
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Swan River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I'm just going to reiterate it once again. This member, I appreciate, her patriotism, what she is saying. So can she convince her colleagues to give 1 minute and 14 seconds a day to bring this province and this country together?
The honourable member for Agassiz.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And again, it is with great Canadian pride that I stand here today in support of my colleague, the member from Swan River, to support him in his resolution here today. Honourable Speaker, I too grew up in a class, I grew up in rural Manitoba, went to school in a classroom where we stood every day and we sang O Canada. That's how we started our day. That's how we started our mornings every day. We entered that classroom and were patriotic and sang the Canadian anthem. I'm also very proud Canadian.
First time has expired. The honourable member for Swan River.
Yes, and I understand where my colleague, and I thank her for the question, because ever since the times, us people in rural Manitoba and various places within this province, and especially the rural, that's where our roots are, is in rural Manitoba. And that's the way we were brought up, and that's the way that we want to continue. And what better way than in this legislature every day to continue that tradition and showing of patriotism toward this province and this country. So let's get on board, let's pass this resolution and get on with things. Thank you.
Order, please. The time for questions has expired. The floor is now open for debate. The honourable member for Waverley.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Just before I get going, I was looking through the whereas clauses here, and I noticed it says, whereas a Ledger marketing poll found 86% of Manitoban respondents were proud to be Canadian. I was just thinking, I think that if some of the members opposite were to leave, that number would go up significantly, actually, based on what I've been hearing from them recently here in the chamber. You know, but before I begin, I want to say this. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts, we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. So I wanted to read that before I started speaking about this resolution today. And, you know, I appreciate members opposite were heckling while I tried to read the lyrics of our national anthem. It's really unfortunate, but to be honest, it doesn't surprise me. Based on the rhetoric I've been hearing from that side of the chamber over the last few weeks, it's been incredibly disappointing, frankly. And so, yes, we're thrilled to stand up and speak in support of Canada, of our country, as we have done consistently since these threats from Trump, these tariffs have started to be implemented. We have all done this work. So, you know, we debate this resolution today, and I'm so reminded of the values that have always made this country so special, and that I see in that song specifically. You know, our shared commitment to kindness, to unity, to lifting each other up, no matter our background or where we come from. You know, I'm particularly proud, I've got to say, when we speak of patriotism in Canada, of a team here in the government side of the benches that truly embodies so many of those values. In this government, we're more than a collection of individuals, right? We're a team that are really tightly connected by our passion for this country and for this province, for service and our commitment to building a brighter future for Manitoba and Canada. And, you know, as I said, when I think of patriotism and this song, "O Canada," a true love for our country, I think of this team that we've got here in Manitoba, and I think of, you know, folks like the Minister of Families, for example, who's been a tireless advocate for young people, for marginalized communities, for women, for Indigenous youth. Her leadership is, you know, already creating a foundation for the next generation of great Canadians, and I lift her up for that incredible work that she does. You know, and the leaders that she will shape for our future here in Canada. When I think of patriotism and O Canada, I also think of the Minister of Education, who brought forward some great legislation yesterday that also will enshrine some of these things within schools in our country, you know, and is carrying on the legacy of Nello Altamari, who has fearlessly advocated for the education and well-being of our young minds here in Canada. You know, and I can't help but say also that, you know, when I think of O Canada and patriotism, and what this country means and the empathy and the caring that we show to newcomers, for example. I think of, you know, the Minister of Housing, Addictions, Homelessness, who through their experience, through their empathy that I was speaking of, they've created an environment where people can feel heard and supported and seen as part of that shared Canadian story that continues to move forward. You know, and of course, just before I move on from this train of thought, I have to mention our incredible Premier, you know, who is a leader who does not just talk about Canadian values. He actually lives them every day, right? And our Premier, he leads with heart. He stands up for fairness, stands up for justice, for the things that make this country really wonderful. And this is a province that raised me. So, you know, I really feel like he speaks to so many of those great qualities that I have seen in this province as I've grown up. And that leadership is just such a constant reminder of the values that I know we are all here to defend and promote. And I'm sure that the opposition would agree with me in that assessment. So I could go on and on, Honourable Speaker, about each one of these folks on this team, every one of my colleagues who do such incredible work for Manitoba. You know, our team is so filled with passionate and dedicated individuals who are really putting in the work every single day for Manitoba and for Canada. And they're the values ultimately, you know, I'm in a role as Special Envoy for Military Affairs as well. And I can't help but mention that this is the week that we are commemorating the battle at Vimy Ridge, right? And these values of unity, of community, and of service to others, let's just remember that those values, they truly are not just words. And I know the leader of the official opposition wants to heckle me as I talk about the Canadian military here, which is unfortunate. It's an important week. It's an important week. And we can have a conversation later if you would like. I'd be happy to have that conversation. But, you know, it's a way of life that we're so proud to uphold here for our veterans, for our Canadian Armed Forces who do such incredible work every single day on our behalf. You know, and it's such an important legacy that we're determined to pass on to the next generation, to my kids. And, you know, speaking of that legacy that we're passing on, I do have to say there's so many young folks who came to the Legislature this past weekend to celebrate with us at the Rally for Canada, which was such an amazing, galvanizing event. We sang "O Canada" right at the very beginning. It was such a wonderful bonding experience for people from across different cultures and groups coming together to celebrate this amazing country. And I do just personally have to say, I was so thrilled that, and I'm fortunate enough to call him a friend, Fred Penner was here as a real Canadian treasure to perform for us. And it was one of those things, you know, looking up on stage, watching him perform for the kids, for the adults. I feel like it goes across generations. He really embodies so many of those Canadian values as well. And, you know, when I was reading "O Canada," the lyrics, you know, so many of those words just seem to fit in the way that he lives his life every single day. Right? I actually remember clearly going to his house for one of his famous Christmas parties back in the day, and it's musicians from all across the province get together to celebrate. And, you know, when I think of it now, it was this really patriotic moment with everyone just being shared through song and stories and our connected values that we have as Canadians and Manitobans. And I look back fondly on that, and I want to just thank Fred for being there on Saturday to sing "O Canada" with us. And specifically around this resolution, you know, and the reason why I'm here speaking today, he's really embodied those values. So, you know, I would say that today's a great opportunity for us to really think about what "O Canada" means to us and to continue to have these conversations about what it means to be patriotic, to really stick up for our country, particularly here on the government side. And ultimately, I would just say that means every person has a voice, right? Every community is valued. We're all united in that shared commitment to the greater good. And that's certainly the Canada that I believe in. I know that's the Canada that my family and friends believe in, and that this government and our incredible team believe in. And it's the Canada that, as I said, it stands on guard for all of us, right? And a Canada that rises together no matter where we come from or what we've been through. So we will always be the true north, strong and free. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Agassiz.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Again, it is with great Canadian pride that I rise here today to speak to this resolution brought forward by my colleague from Swan River, and the importance of this. And you know, like I was saying before, we live in a great country where we are able to celebrate very much diversity and culture here in our great country and our province of Manitoba. I have for many years been able to attend many July 1st celebrations, and that is very patriotic. There's quite often across our country, and here specifically in the province, many communities, whether they're large or small, get to celebrate Canada Day, whether it's with family barbecues, activities, and quite often a beautiful display of fireworks. And I think it's important that you know, families get together to celebrate whether it be their culture, but especially on Canada Day, and whether they're newcomers to our country or we've been lifelong residents. I think we can all embrace the patriotic, embrace all of that here in our country. Again, Honourable Speaker, I support the member of Swan River, and I support this private member's resolution. And I just ask that may we all stand together to honour and celebrate our country, O Canada. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage.
Honourable Speaker, fellow legislators, fellow legislators and fellow Manitobans.
Sorry. The Honourable Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations.
All right. Honourable Speaker, we both get a do-over. Fellow legislators and fellow Manitobans, let me begin with one simple truth. Manitobans are strong, Canadians are proud, and together we are unshakable. Just last weekend, we stood together in front of this very building, the People's Building, to send a message loud and clear: we are Canadian, and we will never be the 51st state. We sang "O Canada" with full hearts. We celebrated our music, our culture, our families. We stood together in unity, in pride, and in defiance of those who would rather bow to foreign interests than lift up their own people. Les Manitobains et Manitobaines sont forts et fortes. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes sont fiers. Et ensemble, nous sommes inébranlables. Dimanche dernier, nous étions des centaines rassemblés devant cet édifice pour peuple, pour envoyer un message fort et clair. Nous sommes Canadiens et Canadiennes et nous ne serons jamais le 51e État. Nous avons chanté au Canada à plein poumon. Nous avons célébré notre musique, notre culture, nos familles. Nous étions unis par la fierté et la volonté de défendre ce qui nous appartient. Canada is more than just a place on a map. It's a mosaic of languages, cultures, histories, and dreams. It's a place where we stand shoulder to shoulder, no matter where we came from, what we believe, or who we love. That's what we celebrated at our Rally for Canada. Local musicians, food trucks, families playing street hockey, and the beautiful sound of our national anthem echoing across the legislature grounds. Singing the anthem lets us proclaim that we love our country. We're proud of who we are, and we will always stand up for Canada. This bill suggests anthem singing is how we demonstrate patriotism. Well, I would never suggest otherwise. There is no clearer demonstration of patriotism than continuing to the ongoing project of building a better Canada. And that's what we are doing. We are building one Manitoba, a province where every person matters, where every voice counts, and where every community has a place at the table. Patriotism isn't just about this proposed bill, it's about people. It's about families. It's about facing uncertainty with unity, strength, and purpose. We're Trump-proofing our economy by investing in our own, supporting local businesses, helping workers adapt, and providing tax deferrals for those facing hardship due to American tariffs. We're building a resilient future with new investments in post-secondary institutions, a renewed Washington Trade Office, and a bold, forward-thinking approach to critical minerals, energy, and agriculture. And when it comes to healthcare, we are restoring public healthcare, not selling it off to the highest bidder. Because in Canada, healthcare is a right, not a privilege to those who can afford it. Être fier de notre pays, ce n'est pas juste une chanson. Nous construisions un Manitoba uni, une province où chaque personne compte, où chaque voix est entendue et où chaque communauté a sa place à la table. Notre budget 2025 ne parle pas que des chiffres, il parle des gens, de familles, de notre avenir commun. Nous rendons notre économie à l'épreuve de Trump en soutenant nos propres entreprises, en accompagnant nos travailleurs et en reportant les impôts sur ceux touchés par les tarifs américains. Nous préparons l'avenir avec des investissements dans l'enseignement postsecondaire, un bureau de représentation à Washington et une stratégie audacieuse dans nos minéraux critiques, l'énergie et l'agriculture. Et en santé, nous rebâtissons notre système de santé publique. Nous ne le vendons pas au plus offrant, parce qu'au Canada, les soins de santé sont un droit, pas un luxe réservé à ceux qui peuvent se le permettre. Et maintenant, parlons de l'alternative. Parce que pendant que nous étions dehors à célébrer le Canada, à chanter au Canada, à soutenir nos communautés, les députés d'en face remerciaient Donald Trump de nuire à notre économie. Oui, vous l'avez bien entendu, des membres ont remercié Trump pour les tarifs, voulaient envoyer plus d'argent public à Elon Musk. Il y en a qui ont suggéré que le Manitoba devrait devenir américain. Soyons très clairs, nous ne serons jamais le 51e État. Alors que nous investissions ici, au Manitoba, les conservateurs envoyaient des chèques à l'entreprise étrangère. Pendant que nous ouvrons les hôpitaux, ils ont fermé les urgences. Ils ont même vendu pour 5 millions de dollars un contrat de laissez-passer de parc prévention à une entreprise texane, une entreprise du Texas. Nous avons annulé ce contrat et cet été, nos parcs provinciaux seront gratuits pour tout le monde parce que c'est ainsi qu'on bâtit la fierté, pas le profit. I can appreciate the desire to somehow, with this bill, enshrine patriotism, but is it not in our concrete actions and what we do? Funding healthcare is a core Canadian value. I ask you, was this patriotic? Firing nurses, shutting down ERs, sending Manitobans across the border for surgeries that could have been done right here at home. We are reversing that damage. We are rebuilding our capacity, and we are keeping healthcare public, accessible, and Canadian. Because your health should never depend on your wallet, it should depend on your needs. And under this government, it always will. Canada isn't just a song in the legislature. It's an idea. Canada is not a melting pot, it's a mosaic. We don't ask people to erase who they are. We lift each other up and celebrate what makes us different while embracing what unites us all. This government stands for inclusion, compassion, and Canadian unity. Le Canada n'est pas un creuset, c'est un kaléidoscope vivant. Nous ne demandons pas aux jeunes et aux gens de renoncer à qui ils sont. Nous célébrons nos différences et nous nous rassemblons autour de ce qui nous unit, parce que ce gouvernement défend l'inclusion, la compassion et l'unité canadienne. This bill is perhaps better suited as a discussion with the Rules Committee of the Legislative Assembly. We as a government are more about actions in the community. Small businesses are the heart of Manitoba's economy. They're also the soul of our communities. At our Rally for Canada, we didn't just invite them, we centered them. We gave them a platform, a voice, a place in the celebration. Because that's what local leadership looks like. Not sending checks to billionaires, not outsourcing to foreign companies, but investing in our people, in our neighborhoods, in our future. We are at a crossroads. One path leads to division, privatization, and a submission to foreign powers. The other path leads to unity, investment, and pride in our nation. That's the path we are walking together. To every Manitoban worried about their job, their health care, their children's future, we are in your corner. To every small business trying to stay afloat, we hear you and are with you. Nous sommes à la croisée des chemins. Un chemin mène à la division, à la privatisation, à la soumission des puissances étrangères. C'est le chemin que les conservateurs ont choisi. L'autre chemin mène à l'unité, à l'investissement et à la fierté nationale. C'est celui que nous empruntons des soins de santé et on fait ensemble. À chaque petite entreprise qui tente de survivre, on vous entend et on est avec vous. À chaque famille qui était avec nous le 6 avril, chantant au Canada, les larmes aux yeux, merci. Vous nous avez rappelé qui nous sommes. Nous sommes Canadiens et Canadiennes. Nous sommes Manitobains et Manitobaines. Nous sommes forts et fortes, libres et unis. Et nous ne cesserons jamais de nous battre pour cette province. Nous ne cesserons jamais de nous battre pour votre et notre pays. To every family who stood with us on April 6th, singing O Canada, with tears in their eyes, thank you. You reminded us who we are. We are Canadian, we are Manitoban, we are strong, free, and united. And we will never stop fighting for this province, and we will never stop fighting for our country. Merci, thank you, miigwech.
The Honourable Member for Portage-La Prairie.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Let's hear it, Jeff. Let's hear it.
The title, O Canada, what does it mean to me? It's a song of pride, reflection, and unity. It's a great honor to stand here before you today and speak about something that is woven into the fabric of our national identity, our national anthem, O Canada. Whether you sung it in a packed hockey rink, at a quiet school assembly, or while watching fireworks on Canada Day, that simple act connects all of us in a powerful way. Why do we sing O Canada? It reflects our nation's journey, including our proudest moments and our deepest scars, and how it continues to evolve alongside the story of this country. I was honored. I will not sing today. I was honored to sing O Canada down in the States at the SARL convention when we were asked if the Canadians would like to do anything special. And I said, you bet. But I was really, I didn't have anything patriotic to wear. I didn't have my bow tie. I didn't have my red pin. I didn't have my flag. But I did have a bag that says Canada on it. And I know I can't use it as a prop, and I won't use it as a prop. But I carry a bag with me every day, a brown leather bag. And in the bottom of that bag is that red Canadian bag. That bag that I carry so proudly. And anytime that anyone wants me to break into song and talk about this great, amazing country that my parents brought me up in, that my grandparents emigrated to here, I am so proud to do it every day. I want to once again thank the member from Swan River for bringing this important decision through to sing O Canada, to talk about O Canada that is so important to us and to unite us. Sometimes in this house where it gets a little heated in here, we can always come back to that great song, O Canada. And it doesn't just mean about moving our lips or not singing it. It means to sing it loud and proud. Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for St. River.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm really thrilled to have the opportunity to stand up and speak to this resolution. I love Canada. I'm a proud Canadian, and there is no country I would rather be a member of than this one. To raise my family in, to see my friends prosper, and to be who we really are. Member opposite who brought this resolution forward said that we're questioning their patriotism. I think what we're questioning is their sincerity. We're questioning their understanding of what it really means to be a Canadian and a patriot. I'm questioning if they understand what it means to be a true elected representative. It's not superficial symbols or beliefs on who we are. There was once this beer commercial that we all probably loved quite dearly and we all remember, where it said, "I'm not a lumberjack or a fur trader. I don't live in an igloo or eat blubber or own a dog sled. I don't know Jimmy, Sally, or Susie from Canada, although I'm certain they're really nice. I have a prime minister, not a president. I speak English and French, not American. I pronounce it about, not a boot. I can proudly sew my country's flag on my backpack. I believe in peacekeeping, not policing. Diversity, not assimilation. And that the beaver is a truly proud and noble animal. A toque is a hat, a Chesterfield is a couch, and it's pronounced Zed, not Z, Zed. Canada is the second largest landmass, the First Nation of hockey, the best part of North America. Those are symbols of what it might mean to be a Canadian, but they're superficial symbols. What Canada really means, and what we all need to understand, is that we live in a democracy, and that's the core of our identity. A democracy which believes in inclusion, accountable governance, peaceful pluralism, and respect for diversity and human rights. Democracy is not just a system of government, it's a societal system. It should embrace inclusion and equality and can facilitate an environment that respects human rights and fundamental freedoms. In this system, people exercise free will. This includes decisions that affect how they choose to live. Democracy will lead to a better life, a better quality of life, a more equitable, gender, equal, and inclusive society, greater security and stability, both nationally and globally. It's a path to prosperity. Canada believes in an inclusive approach to democracy. We want people to participate in our decision-making processes and institutions that impact all areas of our lives. This includes women in all of their diversity, young people, vulnerable and marginalized groups. Canada is a society where we believe in resilience and we're an active civil society, where we have independent media, internet freedom, political participation, and include women in decision-making processes, free, fair, and inclusive electoral processes, diverse, inclusive, and pluralistic legislatures and other representative bodies. And if you look at the Manitoba NDP government right now, that is exactly what you see. We believe in the rule of law, the promotion and the protection of human rights, which leads me to what I'm about to talk about. Members opposite have been working really hard to frame us as the Broadway bullies, that we create a culture of toxic behavior in this room. But members opposite don't seem to understand one simple thing. When they exclude Manitobans, when they ostracize people for who they are, how they identify, they are doing it to the members in this room. As an Indigenous woman, during the 2023 campaign, members opposite have no idea that they didn't just hurt citizens, they hurt the members that they share this chamber with and have never apologized. Members opposite calling us bullies go completely against what it means to be a Canadian and what patriotism means. Our forefathers, our veterans, our people in the military fight for these rights every single day. As a teacher, I taught my students what it meant to be an upstander, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means in this space. It means giving voice to those that don't have one. It means standing up and speaking out to the wrongs that people are inflicting on others. I will always stand up and speak against what is wrong. When members choose to exclude people from our society, from our one Manitoba, that is completely wrong, and we're going to stand up and we're going to use our voices to give voice to those that don't have the ability to speak for themselves or the opportunity. I wonder if members opposite consider when they got elected, that means that it is their responsibility to put aside their ideological beliefs, to have a growth mindset, and to represent every single person in their constituency, regardless of how they identify, who they are, where they come from, or what they believe in. Because as the representative for Seine River, regardless if they are an NDP supporter, Liberal supporter, a PC supporter, I represent them all. And I represent them all in the same way. I respect everybody in this chamber and their beliefs, but for some reason, folks on the opposition choose to make personal attacks, and I don't think they even understand that they are at times. They need to do some work in the area of anti-racist, anti-oppressive education so that they understand sometimes the language that they're using, the heated, loaded language, and I do believe some members understand that it's racist and that it's attacking people for who they are and how they identify. They should know better. They should be setting an example. So when someone brings forward a resolution to sing "O Canada" every day, I find it insincere when they don't actually believe in what they're saying, when they don't demonstrate it on a daily basis, when they don't act out those beliefs on a consistent basis. Our job as elected representatives is to represent everyone and do our very best. I just talked about what it means to be in a democracy. That is the core of our Canadian identity, nothing less. We've had great times as Canadians, we've had low times. But I think it's important that I've heard members opposite say things like, get over the past, stop talking about that. And I'm talking about in terms of reconciliation, past harms, the true history of Canada. And I'm saying it again, that if we don't look to our past so that we can have a growth mindset for our future, we're never going to be successful as one Manitoba, as one Canada. I love Canada. I'm happy to sing "O Canada" every single day if I need to, if I want to, if I'm asked to. I do it with pride. As a Red River Métis person, I have the unique ability to almost walk in two worlds. I have my Indigenous side of my family and I have my Ukrainian side of the family. I understand what that means. I understand what it means to look at the harms of the past and reconcile that with my future and where I am today. What I'm respectfully asking is that members opposite take a little bit of time and think about the questions they pose, how they pose them, how they attack Canadians. And the next time they dare to stand up and call us bullies, they need to remember one thing. We are far from bullies. We are the upstanders in this province, and we will always use our voice to protect all Manitobans. That is the number one thing you can count on from our government. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Lakeside.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you for the opportunity to stand here in the House today and put some words on record. This is one topic that I find very easy to speak from deep from the bottom of my heart on how patriotic I am to our country and our province and the singing of "O Canada." You know, I go back to as a young boy in school, every day we sang "O Canada" and "God Save the Queen." And growing up as a child, many of my colleagues know I come from a family that loved to sing and play music. And my mom and dad, they played for a number of dances. They had an orchestra right from the time they were married. And as myself and my brother and three sisters grew up, we joined their band. And just about every dance we played at, we would start with the singing of "O Canada" and end the night with "God Save the Queen." So I took a lot of pride in that over the years growing up. And yeah, we traveled all over the Interlake doing those kinds of things. My 8 years on the AMM board, and my friend from Dauphin, colleague from Dauphin would remember this, that every convention I was asked to lead the singing of "O Canada." Again, took great pride in that, and having the opportunity to lead a convention of thousands of people to sing our national anthem. So those are some great memories of mine over the years singing "O Canada." And when we get the opportunity in this chamber to do it at the signing of bills or of whatnot ascending, I really feel the pride when we can stand together and sing our national anthem. So I truly hope that we can all come together here today united and support this resolution, that we can sing O Canada every day in this chamber before we get to work. I'm surprised, the members opposite, how they have filled their full 10 minutes with just a few other members. We thought maybe there would be an opportunity for each of them to give a couple of minutes of speaking about their pride and how they think this is a great idea. But I guess there's just not enough of them on the other side to have that pride in doing so. But going forward, I certainly hope all of us as members of the legislature can set an example. Set an example moving forward for future generations. Why did we have to wait for Donald Trump to make this happen? I'm not sure. But it's an opportunity for us moving forward to set that example for future generations. On that, Honourable Speaker, I thank you again for the opportunity, and I encourage all of my colleagues on both sides of the House to support this resolution. Thank you.
The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Yeah, is there leave to not see the clock until everybody who wishes to has spoken to this resolution speaks and it comes to a vote?
Is there leave for us to not see the clock until every member who wishes to speak to this resolution has had the opportunity to speak until it comes to a vote? Is there leave? No, I hear a no. Is the House ready for the question? Then the question before the House is the resolution number 7, O Canada. Is it the will of the House to adopt the motion? Agreed and so ordered. The motion is accordingly, the resolution is accordingly passed. The Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Recorded vote, please.
Recorded vote has been called. Call in the members. Order, please. The question before the House is the resolution brought forward by the honourable member for Swan River. Therefore, be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba be urged as a permanent symbol of collective Canadian pride to refer to the Rules Committee the proposal to sing O Canada each sitting day after the daily prayer and land acknowledgement. All those in the chamber in favour of the resolution, please rise.
Honourable Minister Fontaine.
Honourable Minister Fontaine.
Honourable Minister Schmidt.
Honourable Minister Schmidt.
Honourable Minister Asaguara.
Honourable Minister Asaguara.
Honourable Minister Sala.
Honourable Minister Sala.
Honourable Ms. Smith.
Honourable Ms. Smith.
Honourable Mr. Bushy. Oh, sorry, Mr. Owasco. Mr. Owasco.
Mr. Owasco.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Panook.
Mr. Panook.
Mrs. Stone.
Mrs. Stone.
Mrs. Cook.
Mrs. Cook.
Mr. Nesbitt.
Mr. Nesbitt.
Honourable Minister Bushy.
Honourable Minister Bushy.
Honourable Minister Samard.
Honourable Mr. Samard.
Honourable Minister Marcelino.
Honourable Minister Marcelino.
Honourable Minister Kennedy.
Honourable Minister Kennedy.
Honourable Minister Naylor.
Honourable Minister Naylor.
Honourable Minister Sandhu.
Honourable Minister Sandhu.
Honourable Minister Moyes.
Honourable Minister Moyes.
Honourable Minister Morose.
Honourable Minister Morose.
MLA Lagasse.
MLA Lagasse.
Ms. Byram.
Ms. Byram.
Mr. Pershot.
Mr. Pershot.
Mr. Wochuk.
Mr. Wochuk.
MLA Bariza.
MLA Bariza.
Mr. Balkan.
Mr. Balkan.
Mr. Schuler.
Mr. Schuler.
MLA Malloway.
MLA Malloway.
MLA Compton. MLA Corbett.
MLA Corbett.
Mr. Blashko.
Mr. Blashko.
MLA Chen.
MLA Chen.
MLA Pankratz.
MLA Pankratz.
MLA Devgan.
MLA Devgan.
MLA Compton.
MLA Compton.
Mr. Oxenham.
Mr. Oxenham.
MLA Loisel.
MLA Loisel.
MLA Dela Cruz.
MLA Dela Cruz.
Mrs. Schott.
Mrs. Schott.
Mr. Brar.
Mr. Brar.
Mr. King.
Mr. King.
Mr. Ginter.
Mr. Ginter.
Mr. Narth.
Mr. Narth.
MLA Cross.
MLA Cross.
All those in the House opposed to the resolution, please rise. We will now conduct the alphabetical roll call of members participating virtually, and as a reminder to all virtual members, please respond clearly with either I vote yes or I vote no, only when your name is called. I would also remind members to unmute their mics only when they are recognized, and then immediately mute it again once they've declared their vote. The page will now conduct the vote.
Mr. Khan.
I vote yes.
Mr. Khan votes yes.
MLA Lamoureux.
I vote yes.
MLA Lamoureux votes yes.
Ms. Lapland.
I vote yes.
Ms. Laughlin votes yes.
Mr. Wharton.
I vote yes.
Mr. Wharton votes yes. Ayes 46, nays 0.
I declare the resolution passed, and the hour now being past 12 o'clock, this House is recessed and stands recessed until 1:30 this afternoon.